Healthcare and senior care is fraught with problems and challenges, but we're also seeing some amazing new clinical treatments and resources. This show will help illuminate and uncover the good, bad, the ugly in order to equip patients, families, and other healthcare providers. Welcome to Senior Care Confidential.
Hello and welcome to another episode with Senior Care Confidential. I'm here with my co-host, Joe Alch.
Good afternoon, Brian.
And we have a very interesting, fascinating story we're going to discuss today. Recent events have talked about, for those of us in the Dallas area, some of us are aware of Billy Chemirmir and the murder spree that he went on several years ago. And he was just recently found killed himself, we think is by his cellmate in prison. And so we are blessed today to have one of the victims' sons, Robert MacPhee, here with us. He's also a partner with, let me make sure I get this right, Secure Our Seniors Safety, and they work with legislative bodies here at not only educating police forces, but also working with the legislation side to make sure that certain laws are enacted to help make sure that our seniors are safe.
Thank you so much for being here, Robert. And we're going to talk about your mother, Carolyn. You actually knew Billy and you knew the caregiver. And walk us through how you actually knew him.
Well, years ago, my father had Parkinson's. And as time progressed, he got worse and worse. And we had to get a home health entity coming in and helping out. And they put Billy Chemirmir in my parents' house. We knew him by Benjamin Koitaba. So he was using an alias. So we all ate with him and had lunch and dinner, and he was there for about 5 months. And
wow.
Yeah.
So was he there when your father passed? Was your father passed? And
no, we said we didn't want to have him in the house anymore. About 6 months before that.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And he used an alias because, so I understand he was not a legal U.S. citizen.
No.
Is that correct?
He was on a work visa, but his work visa expired like years ago.
Wow.
And he was using an alias.
Okay.
And I'm assuming because he was still working for a company that there was no background checks being done on him.
They said there was, but there wasn't.
Got it.
Yeah. And I know from owning a home health for so many years, our home care, we check backgrounds. Mm-hmm. We did drug screening and background checks.
Yeah.
And we're really over the top on those because we are guests in people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, feel confident that your loved one is.
Yeah, none of that was done.
Wow. So your dad passes away.
Mm-hmm.
Billy was out of the picture for a few months prior to that. And then I'm assuming because of the story, he came back at some point to visit your mother again.
He came back to kill her. And the police had his phone pinged around her house a couple different days.
Prior to,
so he was stalking.
Oh, wow.
How were you guys alerted of her?
A friend from church called my brother and said, "Hey, Carolyn didn't show up for the Cowboy game and she wasn't at church." So my brother pinged and he called me and said, "Mom's at home." So I'm like, "Oh no, you're thinking the worst. She fell, she, hit her head."
Right.
So I go to her house, I run in around the corner and I see her feet sticking out on the floor of her bedroom.
And so you immediately call the police?
Well, yeah, my nephew was right behind me, like 15 seconds, and my brother. So yeah, then we dialed 911.
And was there any sign of a struggle at that point?
No,
it looked like a natural thing.
Yeah,
and what did the police tell you that they thought, or the medical examiner?
Well, there was blood on her glasses and on a comforter, and they said that it was had to be at an aneurysm.
Okay, which seemed normal. For an 81, right?
81.
Yeah, 81-year-old female having an aneurysm and, didn't look like any kind of signs of struggle. Mm-hmm. And so everyone kind of chalked it up to that. Yeah, yeah.
Because Billy knew how to do it. He'd stage the scene. So
what was the tip off that something wasn't right?
Well, her rings were gone immediately. My brother and I are like, "Where are her rings?"
Yeah.
And Planet Police said, "Oh, old people, they just hide stuff."
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, okay, she passes, the rings are missing. So what happens next? When did you just say, this isn't right, I need some answers? Tell me walk us through
Well,
that.
my brother and I were calling Plano Police, time and time, just saying, hey, what's going on? Oh, we're looking into it. We're looking at pawn shops and we'll get back to you. And then they called me on a Friday and said, hey, we found some jewelry. Do you want to come down and look at it, see if it's any of your mom's? And then my brother and I like trying to find pictures of her rings. It's like, I don't remember. But we went down there playing. My brother went down because I couldn't. And he said, we think your mother's murdered.
Wow.
And we saw the article on Billy Chemirmir, and my brother and I went, that's it.
Wow. So
There's a
did you let
connection.
the police know this is the guy that has been?
Well, they told us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So was Billy in jail at this point, in the
Yes.
Dallas jail?
Yes.
Okay. And so with your mother's murder, how many murders had Billy already committed prior to her murder?
I think 18, 20.
Wow.
Because I think that the assumed number is somewhere around 24, right? 25 or so, 22. Yeah, which is just kind of shocking. We actually pulled some statistics before the show, and I'm stunned that more people don't know about this because when you look at like Ted Bundy had, what we find out, 30?
30.
Ted Bundy had 30.
Jeffrey Dahmer had 17.
17. This guy had 25 and older folks. And, there was you mentioned the one, the Seattle, the college students?
Yes.
There were 4 of them, right? And it's national news. And this one, it doesn't seem like it got that much play. Maybe because, they're older. And it's,
All the police said, old people die.
yeah, there was interesting enough, there was there's a recent AARP article, so I'll read this, and they were talking about how with a lot of the unattended, and because you worked with the legislation, you know this too, on the unattended deaths, particularly for older individuals, they say that the vast majority of them are done via phone, that they just assume because they're older, that, like PD said, older people die, right? And so there was a criminal justice professor out of Sam Houston State who is quoted here. He says, quote unquote, when crime rates are rising in major cities, the police and medical examiners would rather expend their forces on other crimes rather than on the death of someone who's reaching their quote unquote expiration date. Unbelievable.
I know, and that is so maddening. And I'll say, I shared earlier when we were talking, I was a hospice nurse for 12 years, and I can count on one hand the number of patients that died just in their sleep or during a nap. It just didn't really happen. It was more of a process when they would go through the dying process. So just this many deaths, sudden
Yep.
deaths. But we were talking to earlier about the communities. There were 3 communities that he targeted: the Tradition, Prestonwood, Edgemere, and Park Place. And so my question is, how, after the first one, the first one dies in her sleep, I get that. Maybe they think, well, she just passed peacefully. Good for her. She's in heaven. But then the next one on the same floor, I know in one community there were 5 or 6 on the same floor, and jewelry was missing. So how did the police how was that not flagged as a problem? I can't imagine,
I don't know what the process is.
And so the daughters,
It doesn't work.
the adult children of these victims at these communities, when they met each other, had, patient 2 down the hall, had the adult children been notified of these deaths that were on the hall? How did the residents find out about what was going on? Because surely there would be some kind of a safety, memo or something, be sure your doors are locked,
I think they did after they found that, when they started putting the pieces together, from what I understand, when they realized these were murders that were happening. I do know in some of these communities, they did have some notifications going out on that.
Well, they're trying to cover up.
Yeah.
Cover their backs.
What was the linchpin's not the right word. What was the precipitating events where they realized these were not just random passings,
right,
but there was actually somebody behind this?
I think there was a police officer from Richardson to kind of put it all together. So, okay, jewelry missing here, because it's Dallas County, Plano, Frisco. So somebody's kind of.
I think wasn't there a story? I think there was a lady in Plano that survived and was able to identify him. I think that was probably part of it. And then the police department realizes, oh my gosh, there's probably multiple others. Okay, how long did it take before when they realized it was happening to when they realized the extent of it? Like, how long was the investigation?
Oh, it was going on for a couple of years until he was indicted on 2 counts. And
just on 2 counts. The other ones, they're not sure. They're pretty sure. There's a couple dozen of them, but they just
they're not going to do anything with those because
I did see it. I saw in a different article they said something about they looked at over 750 local deaths for seniors
unattended
that were unattended that they
supposedly
were supposed to go back through because there were question marks around those as well.
So he was tried November 15th of 2021. So he was in prison during that time. From when he was arrested March of 2018. So he was behind bars and he couldn't hurt anybody. But there was a mistrial due to a jury deadlock.
One person held out, said, I don't think he did it.
So how can one person make, I thought it was like didn't have to be unanimous. It was just, I didn't realize it had to be unanimous for a murder.
So they retried him. Yeah.
Wow.
And Dallas police originally said that they were going to go for the death penalty. And then Crusoe changed it. Oh, no, we're not going to do that.
Why?
Ask him.
Because they're reaching their expiration date anyway?
And Colin said if Dallas doesn't do the death penalty, we'll bring him up to Plano and do it.
And what'd they do?
They're not going to try anything.
They're leaving it where it is.
Yep.
Well, he's dead now.
Even before he wasn't dead, it's like, he's already going to be in prison for the rest of his life. My brother and I were saying, why would they go through all the tax dollars to try him again when he's already going to die? Which it makes sense.
So how did you feel the day you found out that he died in prison?
We don't condone murder, but God sorted it out.
He absolutely did.
So tell us about the organization that you are a part of now. It's
SOSS?
Yes, thank you. Yep.
Shannon started it. We've gone down to Austin and got 2 laws changed. One is with the gold and silver exchange. We can't just go in. Now they have to keep the jewelry for X amount of time. They can't just melt it down. They get
That's
like
awesome.
the pawn shops. They were doing that the whole time, but there wasn't any law with gold and silver exchange. Then
so with pawn shops, they have to keep the jewelry on hand for a period of time before they melt
get your ID.
Interesting. They have to
I've heard
photograph it too?
commercials about the gold and silver. Come in and bring your silver. Wow.
Yeah.
See, and the general public would not know that.
No, you'd assume.
Yeah.
And then you got another law changed that if the medical examiner changes a cause of death, from whatever to murder or whatever, they have to call the family. Because one of the ladies found out that her mother was murdered from Facebook.
I don't understand why that wouldn't be like just a common sense thing anyway. If we
courtesy.
We have to have a law to tell people, hey, we realized that your mom was murdered versus passing away.
Yeah.
What on earth?
Wow.
So did you get any pushback from legislation on these 2 laws?
I was not down there. I think it went through
smoothly.
But now we got shot down on one last year about retirement communities where visitors have to sign in. You have to give them ID, but the owners of these communities say, no, that's, just like taking away the rights of, who we have coming in.
It's baloney. It's just cost. That's what it is.
I think almost every community that I'm in, though, I have to sign in, or they'll either have a sign-in thing where we got to put who we are, who we work with, or there's an automated AccuShield or whatever.
AccuShield, that's right.
That's in the vast majority of these now too. So, and that the AccuShield does its own background checks, like it submits TB tests and all that kind of stuff to go in there. So, all the places I go in now have some version of that, which is
cameras.
Cameras, but some independent livings, you can just walk right in.
Yep.
So
we're right in through the back door.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure what he did. And he knew which floors didn't have cameras.
So that one failed.
That one failed because the retirement communities had more money.
Got it. Okay. Are you guys still working to try to get that one pushed through?
Yeah.
Okay. Are
It's
there
another
some
2 years.
Are there some concessions that can be made for that, or are they looking for some concessions, or is it just
I
full
don't
stop?
know.
We don't want this.
Well, and these
It was just turned down.
communities in question, some are charging up to $12,000, $14,000 a month, and they can afford,
Oh yeah.
a check-in system for safety.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But there's no
It's-
law to it. So
Are there any other legislations that you guys are trying to get pushed through?
we're
than that
eventually
one?
going to do home health care,
Okay.
where you need to have complete documentation instead of just saying, no, we didn't do the background check. Sorry.
Got it. Because I know because we're licensed, so we have to do background checks on everybody.
And we did
Yeah.
too.
'Cause
But I
what-
think people, they find loopholes and they get away. Oh, I didn't know. I think they act stupid. Like, oh, I just didn't know.
Well, Billy was arrested 6 times, couple DWIs, assault of a child,
Oh, geez.
hitting his wife.
And so who let him out of prison the 5th or 6th time?
Dallas?
Dallas police, Addison police.
Yeah, it's the sanctuary city thing. Yeah,
That's lovely.
that's terrible.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm just so sorry to hear that you're, but I'm just good for you that you can sit here and just talk about it and tell us how the public can get involved to help with your organization.
You go to SOSS. We have a website. You can donate. We're going to have a golf tournament to raise money. We had one last year. I think we raised $80,000
Oh, wow.
to go
Okay.
towards changing the laws.
Okay.
So just support. Tell all your neighbors.
Yeah. Now,
Watch out.
You
who
guys
let in your house.
do some educational stuff with the police departments around here too, right?
Yeah, Shannon and some of the other girls are out in Mesquite.
Okay. What do they do on that? Just kind of educational on here's
Just tell you look at what we're talking about now.
yeah.
Here's you got to watch out for yourself because obviously the police aren't.
Man.
And the communities aren't,
Yeah.
I still
That's
can't
just
can't
terrible.
get over the quote of they're nearing their expiration date. It's just infuriating.
I know.
It's just that's typical ageism. You've outlived your useful life. And so we just don't pay attention to these things.
Yeah, they just say old people.
Yeah,
They're
they
old
just
people.
die.
They just die.
So what would you advise to someone who is looking for care for mom or dad?
Do your own due diligence. There's places out there. There's websites. But it's insane to find them. My brother and I were trying to look, and it's infuriating. I hate the website anyway. I hate the internet anyway. You try to find one thing, and 3 million things come up, not what you're looking for.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
But there's some background places.
I know for licensed
you can do.
clinicians, so for PTs and OTs, it's the same website. It's like ptot.tx.us or something, but you can actually verify licenses.
Same with nursing.
Yep. If there's been any suspension, if there's been any criminal activity, if it's expired, whatever. So
or
at
with
least
an alias.
Yeah. I don't know about the alias thing, but you can look it up by the license number. I don't know if we don't hire caregivers. So I don't know if those are if that's the same thing because they're
Yeah,
CNAs.
you check if they're CNAs, and so there is a credentialing for CNAs as well,
Okay.
and you check that. So there are a lot of drug screening. Check to make sure that they are they have that certification.
He wasn't certified in anything.
Yeah. You know what? And if any of these listeners, with Joy Care Management, with what I do, I can help you, direct you on who to contact to get the
That'd be
information
great.
you want. So,
I work in the home health space, and so we have a number of our patients that have private duty caregivers in them, and most of them are with a licensed, bonded home care company that does background checks. But then you have some of these that they're just lovely ladies who are retired nurses or whatever, and they're helping out. They're not licensed. There's no background. So in those cases, would you recommend that someone go through a company? Because yours was with a company anyway, or just flat out just do your own background checks on whoever's coming in and working with your folks?
I just do find out who's coming in your house.
Yeah.
It's sad now. It's like you can't trust anybody.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh yeah, we did a background check." Well, you didn't,
Yeah.
and you put him in my parents' house.
Oh.
wow. See, we had the state would come in so the background checks we did, like we couldn't check backgrounds of friends and neighbors.
Yeah.
And so we had the state come in periodically, maybe one, and we had a big roster, but we had the state come in at least every 6 to 8 months, and they would just check to make sure we were doing that correctly.
But did you ask?
No, they just came in.
I don't see, because this was a franchise of the biggest home health care.
A franchise still doesn't matter. They still have to follow the state regulations.
I don't know.
But I guess if they say they did it, and you can sign things all day long, that doesn't mean you've done them.
Mm-hmm.
But what the state would do, they would get a report of every background check we did, and they would make sure that they were employees or they had. So you would have to save applications. So even people that we didn't hire and why, we'd have to save those applications and the background check for those that we didn't bring on, you know. So
the system's broken.
Have there been any changes? Because I know you've been dealing with we're dealing with the Dallas Police Department and Plano. Have they implemented anything different since this case happened? Are their processes different? Are they no longer doing the unattended thing where we're just going to make a phone call?
Well, last time I talked with Plano Police, they said that they were going to change what they were doing and send 2 detectives on unattended deaths.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Good. That's really good.
But even as an RN who pronounces, if I saw somebody, like you said, the glasses were broken and there was blood on the walls, and I mean, immediately I would not think brain bleed. I would think something's not right here, you know. But
we're not thinking right. We're taking Plano Police.
It's your mother, and you're not thinking clearly. How horrible. So I am so sorry. And I do hope that changes are made and people learn from this and take better care of protecting their loved ones.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to get across. We're trying to get, the more people that know about this, the more the public say, hey, we want this changed, because that could happen to anybody.
That's right. Well, and I'll go back to, this is like the most prolific serial killer in Texas history. Right. And probably in the country's history. And it's not really spoken about very much.
Nobody knows about it.
Yeah. So
So did Billy's family go to the trial? His wife, or
I don't know.
So I'm just curious if they supported him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So for more information, it's soss.org.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. If people want to donate, learn more information on what you guys do, any legislative challenges you guys have upcoming, the audience can go there and find out
and the
more.
golf tournament. Let us know, when that comes up. So you all have a website. Do you have a Facebook page as well?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll find out.
I don't.
But
I think we just have the website.
Okay, that's great. We just appreciate you coming so much and sharing your story.
Well,
I'm so sorry.
We need to get the story out and get stuff changed.
We do.
Because the system's broken.
Clearly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joe?
We'll wrap it up for today, and we'll see you next week, Brian.
Bye.